Yo, what's going on guys, it's Offbeat here and welcome to another episode of Behind the Bars, where this month I'm talking about my latest track, Hole in My Pocket. So as usual, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's liked and commented so far. I've got a few of my faves up on the screen right now. And also it's had a great reaction on Facebook. It's the first time I've released a tune that's had 100 likes in the first day. So big up all the Facebook crew, thank you very much. As the name suggests, Hole in My Pocket is all about money, or my constant lack of it. And it basically follows a month in my life from me the day before payday to getting paid to blowing the money pretty quickly and then having to survive the rest of the month broke and then getting paid again and the cycle just repeating. So this is actually the third iteration of this tune. I wrote two other versions before, but I actually decided to scrap them. So the first one that I wrote, I actually wrote it a couple of years ago, and I always wanted to save it for the album because I knew it was going to be one that everyone could relate to, and I wanted to keep it for the album. But when I actually got round to reviewing it, when I was putting the album together, I sort of looked at it and was like, I've come a long way since then in terms of like my lyric writing ability, and it just wasn't really up to scratch anymore. So rather than put it out and know that I could have done something better, I thought I'll rewrite it. And so that was version 1. So then version 2 was better in terms of quality, but the story was different. So in this one, when it gets to beer o'clock, and I say no, and then I go off in the direction that I go off in the other version of the story, I don't say no, I give in, and then I go out and I get really drunk and I spend all my money in the first night. And that originally was going to be the plot of the song, but I kind of I wrote it and then I looked at it and I was like, mate, you've got so many tunes already about getting drunk, like you're a bit bored of it now, the listeners must be bored of it as well. So in the end I decided to not go down that route and just make a reference to it, which is the line about last month I went out and got carried away, which is in itself a reference to Bad Friend, which was the song from the previous month. And then in this one I decided to not go out and get drunk for a change and to just waste my money in a whole host of other ways instead. But yeah, it was actually quite hard to write it for a third time, because when I'm writing a song, usually it's because I've thought of it quite recently and I'm feeling inspired and I'm feeling creative and I really feel passionate about that topic. By the time it got to the third version of this one, it was like a bit of a challenge, to be honest, because it wasn't fresh anymore. I didn't feel hugely inspired, but I really, really wanted to include it on the album for a number of reasons. So the first reason was there were just lots and lots of little details about this kind of situation that I just wanted to include because I knew people would relate to them. And like with a lot of my stuff, I kind of take pride in picking the little things that everyone's experienced and everyone knows, but no one talks about, especially in hip hop. So there were little scenes like the card getting declined at the supermarket and me calling the bank up and then realising that I've just spent it all, and like living on jacket potatoes and tuna mayo for like a whole month. Those are things that I have done, and they are things that I know that a lot of other people have done. So I kind of wanted to include them because I knew people would relate to it. But secondly, and this is the main reason that I wanted to do this track, is because that whole cycle of getting paid, blowing it, crawling your way to the end of the month, and then finally getting paid again, and then blowing it again, and that whole cycle repeating itself, was a real like fixture of my 20s pretty much. My whole 20s were basically spent living like that. And I'm proud to say that I've actually managed to break that now and get out of it. And I'm by no means perfect, but I'm definitely a lot better with money now than I used to be. So not only did I want to like preserve it and capture that moment, because even though I'm not proud of it, that is a big part of who I was at that time, I also plan to do a follow-up to this song to explain how I managed to get out of it and break that cycle. And I felt that it would be a lot more powerful if there was a before story to compare it to. So that is one of the other big reasons that I wanted to include Hole in My Pocket, was so that further down the line I can do a follow-up and have it to refer to. So I've got two favourite lines in this song, and the first one is, or is it low self-esteem that makes me lose it on purpose? Because deep down I don't believe I deserve it. And the reason I like that one so much is because basically at its core I think that was one of the main reasons that I was so bad with money. I wasn't comfortable with having any, and I would just find like subconscious reasons to fritter it away or lose it or give it away just to make sure I got back down to zero, because that's where I felt I belonged. So that's something that I'll go into a lot more in the follow-up track that I mentioned. but I wanted to include that because like this is quite a light-hearted song, and I just feel that that's like this little like stab of truth and honesty amongst a lot of the more light-hearted stuff. And I think there's gonna be people listening to it as well who either will listen to that and like it will really resonate with them, or maybe even they haven't considered that yet and they hear that and go, oh shit, maybe that's my issue too. And number 2 is, and explains why I'm such a poor timekeeper, because time is money and I never have either. And the reason I like that one is because, again, I feel it's quite like truthful and quite cutting, and it's, for me anyway, it's that same mindset of like self-sabotaging, which makes me late for everything. And you can ask my friends as well, I still obviously haven't quite overcome that one yet. But the other reason that I like this lyric is because the next track on the album is called I'm Late, and it just ties them all nicely together. You've got Bad Friend, which is like the sort of like prequel to Hole in My Pocket, and then you've got I'm Late, which is not really a sequel, but kind of like related, and they just tie nicely together as like a little trilogy. Alright, so that ended up being quite deep, didn't it, for what on the surface is actually quite a light-hearted tune. But hopefully it gives you guys a bit more insight and a bit more of an idea about where the track came from. So next up, I'll be doing the making of the music video itself, so keep your eyes peeled for that. You can see how I managed to make all those pennies fly out of my trousers. And if you haven't already, then do please make sure you grab a copy of the full album from my website, offbeatsmerchstore.com, because it really helps me and ensures that I don't have to go back to eating tuna mayo and jacket potatoes. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I will catch you very soon. Peace!